In English 121, you're being asked to look at two articles and analyze the discourse community that's going on. So what are the objectives for this assignment? First, analyze how writers navigate authority in various situations. Identify textual signifiers of authority. And finally, explain authorial decisions in terms of audience awareness and accommodation. Remember that to receive an A, you need to evaluate the connections among the author's claims, the audience expectations, and each discourse community. Also evaluate why the author's use of authority is appropriate for each discourse community. Evaluate how the lexis and tone used in each source is appropriate for each discourse community. You're going to compare two articles. In order to help you with this, I want to show you how you might go about looking at some of these issues within two different articles. Now, first of all, I am starting off by looking at a conservative journal article. Now, if you are not sure which journals are conservative or which magazines are conservative, you can do a search for them. So this is thoughtcompany.com, and they have a list here of the top 10 conservative magazines. Now remember, they may have their own biases or own agenda, so take what they say with a grain of salt. I'm going to click on the link for the American Conservative. Notice that they're telling us that the audience for the American Conservative is the disenfranchised conservative, the one who's uncomfortable with the rash of false conservatives who have come to dominate the movement. So this is the audience that, in general, these authors will be writing about. Now, when I take a look at one of their articles on immigration, here we are at the American Conservative website. This article is Blame Congress for Trump's Immigration Power Grab. All right, we have our date, which is February 19th, 2019, and our author. We can click on the author's name and find out more about her and what else she's written in her archive. Going back to our article, we're going to take a look at the opening statement. If you look at Trump in America, or Bolsonaro in Brazil, you see that people now want politicians who are tough enough to do what they promise. Okay, with that statement, then the author begins to make her argument about who is responsible for what is going on with immigration, and in this case, the wall that Trump has promised to build. You will need to look through here to see what authority the author is using. Now, because this is a magazine that generally considers its readers to be intellectual and understand an argument, you will see that there are lots of dates, names of acts, things that have, these are facts that the author is using to support her argument. Now, it's also going to talk about, notice some things here that typically go with the conservative point of view, which the Supreme Court has exploited the First Amendment to de-Christianize all public schools and public places, and Congress did nothing. This is a common argument among conservatives that religious rights are being impeded. It's also discussing power that Congress has to restrict the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. And to conservatives who are not comfortable with the liberal leaning of Congress, then they may say, well, the Congress should not have this power. Now, notice this last statement. Whatever may be said of autocrats, be it Trump, Putin, etc., they are not talkers but doers. They act. They see Trump as someone who does act, but they are being hindered by the different branches of our government. So take a look at this, and then as you look at your own articles, be thinking about what are those common arguments that audience would be expecting. By bringing those things up, those are textual signifiers that show, yes, I'm on the conservative side. That gives that person authority with conservative readers. And it shows that the author has awareness of the audience's expectations, right? Okay, so this would be one way to analyze an article. Another way to look at the audience of a magazine is actually to look at Wikipedia, although again, take this with a grain of salt, okay? In this case, we're looking at The Progressive, which is an American magazine and website of politics. Notice that it has left-leaning perspective according to Wikipedia, and it also gives us some names so we can see who the people are that have started the magazine and are supporting it. Okay? So this magazine is known for strong pacifism, advocating for resistance to corporate power, etc. So this gives us some ideas. Notice that as far as immigration, they are looking at the rights of immigrants and supporting their rights. All right, so we're going to take a look at The Progressive. On the library's website, I'm going to put in The Progressive in the library catalog and click search. You have to be careful. We got over 1 million hits here, but you can see if we scroll down that we do have access to this journal. So after being directed to the ProQuest website, notice that I can search within this publication. I've put immigration and in all caps and wall, and I'm going to click search. As we read this article, remember that the author is writing to a liberal-leaning audience. Therefore, it's important to build the authority, the textual signifiers, and be aware of phrases and expectations that liberal-leaning readers will have. Okay, so just by looking at the abstract, we can see some things that immediately, while they may stir up a conservative, they are probably going to ring true with a liberal. So, since launching his candidacy by accusing Mexicans of being criminals and rapists, Trump has sought to focus resentment on immigrants. Okay, now there's nothing to back that up yet, but that's what the abstract says. Then as you go through this article, you want to look at what facts the person is putting out, how they are going about building authority with their audience and showing that what they are saying and their argument is true. That they're saying the article squares perfectly with other actions taken by Trump. And they're not above name-calling here. Reporter-in-Chief Barack Obama. Okay, so one of the things that has been talked about is the wall that Trump wants to put up. And here we have someone recalling that the president said, "The wall is my priority." Okay, so then it goes on to explain, because we're quoting someone, this is supposed to build authority. We may want to look up this person and see why we should think that they have authority. But this person believes that Trump's rhetoric and policies are making communities less safe. So then we would want to look at the argument behind that and see what facts the author is actually presenting. So this really is a very one-sided argument as you take a look at it. But as you read scholarly journals, you want to remember the more scholarly it is, the less bias there should be. They should be presenting both sides of it. And that's why your professor is asking you to look at scholarly peer-reviewed journals, is to get rid of the bias. So we can see heavy bias in both the articles that we've looked at here. I'm going to leave you to look at this just as an example. If you have further questions about this or how you should work on this assignment, please feel free to contact Amy Harris at the St. Leo Library, and I will be happy to help you.